I want to do a quick a walk around of my 2008 Nissan Xterra. This is the base trim, what's commonly referred to as the S trim, and I bought it a few years back. It began its life in Colorado and then was owned in Washington State for a while, and I flew out from Minneapolis to Seattle to buy it 2 summers ago. When I bought it, it was bone stock, and since that time I've done a number of modifications that may be helpful, interesting, or entertaining to some of you. Why did I want the Nissan Xterra? First of all, I have been interested in these vehicles for some time. I wanted something that was mechanically relatively simple, had a good reputation for reliability, was something that I could take road trips, travel on the highway, travel back roads, and be confident about. One of the other things that I really wanted was something that I could sleep in, and I'm 6'2", which means not every vehicle can fit that bill. Finally, I preferred to have a manual transmission, and so when you think about modern vehicles that you can reliably take down 4 service roads, etc., and sleep in at 6'2", there's not a lot of options on the market. So the Xterra was on my short list. So what have I done to it? I put a slight lift on there. This is the Old Man Emu lift. It's about a 2-inch lift. I put new all-terrain tires. These are one size larger than you would have on the S model, but they are the same size that you would have on what was earlier called the off-road model, and in later years was called the Pro 4X model. So these are 265, 75 R16s, which means they're about a 31.5-inch tire. The tire size that would have originally been on this trim level would be a 30.5-inch. I sourced this front bumper. I wanted a bumper that I thought looked cool, which I think this looks cool. I wanted a bumper that gave me some protection, again, for those long road trips out in the American West. If I were to, unfortunately hit a deer or something like that, that I would have some protection for the radiator. And I wanted something that gave me good recovery points that were easy to access. I was not interested in a winch bumper because that's not the kind of off-roading that I'm interested in doing primarily. So this bumper came from Desert Runner, which is one of a few firms that are making products for the Xterra and also for the Frontier. And I've been really happy with it. I had it shipped out. They're located in California. I had a friend blast and paint it with a high quality paint that matches the gray color of the roof rack, stock Xterra roof rack. I've got a couple fog lights. These are the diode dynamic fog lights, and they're wired up to the factory fog light wiring. This truck did not come from the factory with fog lights, but one of the neat things about the Xterra is the wire loom is there. So if you swap out the stalk that has the fog light controls, which you can buy used on eBay or you can buy brand new from Nissan still, then you can wire in lights really simply. One of the first modifications I did, or upgrades, for this vehicle were to get a set of skid plates. These are aluminum, full aluminum skid plate set. These were from Hefty Fabrication, which is located in Colorado. I wanted, again, to be able to go down forest roads and not worry about rocks flying up, damaging wiring, etc. I removed the side steps, which many people do. I removed the stock mud flaps. I've got these mud flaps here that I've put in the rear, and I really like to have some protection there. I've thought about adding a similar setup to the front. On top, I've looked at a few different options for different roof racks, but I have come to like the stock roof rack, the aesthetics of it. I actually, when I first got this vehicle, I thought that the front basket was a bit of a gimmick, but I like it. I like storing things up there that are low value, meaning I'm not too worried about if somebody were to come along and steal them, but I like not having them in the vehicle. So for instance, I've got a couple blocks of pressure treated 4x6s up there that I can use if I need to jack up the vehicle. It gives me a way to lift up the bottle jack that I carry. I keep, when I'm camping, my camp fuel up there so that I don't have camping gas inside the vehicle. I keep some bits and pieces for an awning that I sometimes install, and I believe I have a small, like a plastic mallet there that I'll use to hammer in tent stakes. So just a few incidentals that if they get wet, it doesn't matter. If they were to get stolen, I won't cry about it, but they keep things out of the way. Another change I've made to the vehicle is the rear bumper. Again, I wanted some strong recovery points that were easy to access. I did not want a hitch. I don't tow. The Xterra can tow, not a lot, but it wasn't a priority for me, and I liked having greater clearance. I did actually have a swing out bumper at one point, but I didn't like the hassle of it, especially in the winter. I live in Minnesota. I park on the street. I live in the city. And so, get a lot of snow accumulate in this rear bumper area, and I didn't like having one more thing I needed to brush off and move out of the way, and the pivots would get rusty just to access the rear hatch. One thing I do a decent amount of is cycling, mountain biking, some road riding, and so I have this 1UP USA bike rack. I think these are the best made bike racks. They're made here in the Midwest. Fabulous construction, almost all aluminum and stainless steel hardware. This is their Super Duty rack, which is, quote, off-road rated, and I believe it. I have used it off-road. Normally it would mount to a receiver hitch, but again, I don't have one. So I had a friend of a friend who's a machinist machine this center section here. This is not a standard part. It replaces a standard part that would have a piece that would slide into the receiver tube. And then I drilled a couple holes. This aftermarket bumper is a 3/16 steel plate, and this bolts in just fine. And so when I'm not riding much, let's say in the winter, this whole piece comes off, and then I have, no rack. It's low profile enough that I feel like if I am going to go off-roading with my buddies, I can do that and leave the rack on. It doesn't get in the way, but it's also easy enough to remove, and I don't keep it on year long. Other things I've done on the exterior, some simple things. I put some grip tape here. It's, think about skateboard type tape on these rails to give me a little more traction. I have a pair of traction boards that I will strap up here with some straps. I have occasionally run a Rotopax container here too for longer trips, and this helps those things grip and not slide around. Gives me a little extra peace of mind. These stainless steel U-bolts I bought from McMaster-Carr. I built some brackets, which you don't see here, but they bolt right here underneath L brackets on each one for an ARB tent that I bought used off Facebook Marketplace or through Facebook Marketplace. I do like that. I haven't run it in a while because most of the camping I've been doing, I'm not in one place long enough where pulling out the awning really seems worth the trouble to me, which is why you don't see me with it here for this brief weekend camp out. There are other things I'd like to show, but that's where I'm going to stop for now.